Coming out of Kansas in 2014, Joel Embiid was touted as having the highest upside out of anyone in his draft class. He only started playing basketball in 2011, but his ability to pick things up quickly was akin to someone who was able to play a song on guitar after just a few listens. After an injury-riddled 2.5 years followed by a rookie season where he only played 31 games, Embiid had a coming-out party of sorts in the 2017-18 season. He was named an All-Star starter, was voted to All-NBA second team, and finished second in voting for Defensive Player of the Year. Now he enters the 2018-19 season with high expectations, not just for the team, but for himself, declaring numerous times over the summer that he has his sights set on the Most Valuable Player award. With his talents, the goal is realistic, and having just wrapped up his first healthy offseason in 4 years, Embiid had a chance to work on his game. You can't improve everything at once in one offseason, but you can work on certain areas one by one. And in this video, I will go over a couple of areas Embiid needs to shore up to have a legitimate shot at the MVP award. Limiting turnovers is too broad, and it's certainly multi-layered, but when you look at Embiid's turnover numbers at the surface, it's not pretty. In the 2016-17 season, he averaged 3.8 turnovers per game, and with a bigger sample of games in the 2017-18 season, that average pretty much stayed the same at 3.7 turnovers per game. Embiid was one of 5 players last season to have more than 20 games with 5 or more turnovers. In fairness, it is worth noting that Embiid has a career usage rate of 34.1, so nights where he has a high number of turnovers are going to happen. With more talent and ball handlers on the team, his usage rate should go down, which will help the cause a little bit. However, there are a lot of little and silly things he can clean up to regulate his turnover numbers. The first issue is double teams. Almost immediately, Embiid became a post-up force in his rookie season, and because he was not able to play his first 2 seasons, he really didn't have much time to work on dealing with double teams. Things such as being able to make reads, knowing when the second defender is coming, and just spatial awareness on the floor were all things that Embiid has had mixed results with in his first 2 seasons. Embiid's trainer, Drew Hamlin, talked about this very topic on the Sidelines with Evan Daniels podcast. Based on articles I've read about Hamlin, his podcast appearances, as well as his Pure Sweat YouTube page, Hamlin is very detail-oriented with his players, and there is no doubt he has gone over countless video clips with his client going over how to deal with double teams. And as Embiid gets more games under his belt, we should see incremental improvements. Decision-making has also played a role in his turnovers. Embiid has shown flashes of being an incredible passer, especially from the top of the key and on the block, but there are growing pains. Some of his turnovers are caused from forcing passes that aren't there, as well as just being flat-out lazy with the ball, going through the motions. Sometimes Embiid will have mistimed mistakes, where teammates are in a different spot than where he expects them to be, and that should be cleaned up as Embiid comes into this season with basically the same roster, as well as another year of comfortability in Brett Brown's system. Some of Embiid's turnovers also stem from trying to do too much, taking 3 dribble drives from the 3-point line, which will usually lead to mixed results and sometimes scary results given his injury history. He will also do a little too much when posting up on the block. If he makes quicker decisions and is more decisive in his moves, then that will eliminate a lot of the silly turnovers that have plagued him so far in his career. But for now, learning how to deal with double teams and doing little things like not being lazy with passes, as well as tightening up the handle on the dribble drive and in the post, will clean up a lot of the silly mistakes. The 2010 decade is going to be remembered as the era of versatile big men stretching out to the 3-point line. Of course, there were stretch bigs that predate this era, but now it's basically a requirement for centers to at least attempt 3-pointers, that or be a rim-running center. Embiid has rapidly developed his shooting touch since his days at Kansas and during his 2 missed seasons in Philadelphia. His rookie year, he shot 36.7% from 3 on 3.2 attempts. Unfortunately, that percentage dropped to 30.8% on 3.4 attempts this past season. As the season went along, Embiid shot better from the 3-point line, but I don't think Embiid's 3-point percentage last season was representative of the type of shooter he is. If he can get closer to being the 37% guy, even the 36% guy we saw his rookie year, defenses will have to respect his range, which will open up more spacing for not only himself, but for his teammates. In the same vein, Embiid also needs to become an 80% foul shooter, and he certainly has the shooting touch to do it. Embiid shot 78% from the free throw line his rookie year, and that percentage dipped in the 2017-18 season to 76%, which for a big man is actually pretty solid. But as Embiid looks to wreak havoc in the paint more often this season, getting those extra points at the line will be crucial. I want you to take a look at Embiid's free throw attempts in back-to-back games against the Clippers and Lakers last season. Embiid went 19 for 16 against the Clippers and then went 16 for 19 against the Lakers in Los Angeles. You know, the game where he had 45, 15, 7, and 7. Embiid already has crafty ways of drawing fouls, using swing-through moves, various pump fakes, and at 7'2" and 270 pounds, sometimes he is just too damn big. Hanlon and Embiid have both stated over the summer that Embiid is going to make a more concerted effort to play quote-unquote bully ball, and if he does that, we are going to see a lot more games where Embiid has at least 12 free throw attempts. Opponents will basically have no choice but to foul, and if he raises that free throw percentage to at least 80%, that's just another wrinkle that opposing defenses will have to worry about. The third area Embiid will need to improve on kind of ties into his improvement from the three-point line and the free throw line, his conditioning. And you could make the case that outside of turnovers, it's the most important area he needs to improve. Embiid's conditioning has been well documented as something that needs to be improved. Sixer head coach Brett Brown has repeatedly stated this fact, Embiid himself has admitted to it, and even former players have pointed out this problem. Unfortunately, this is what happens when you miss 2.5 years of playing basketball and spend 4 straight summers rehabbing injuries. It hinders your ability to work on parts of your game. Embiid's rookie year was spent easing back into playing basketball. He was on a minutes restriction, which never broke past 25 minutes per game, and he was not allowed to play in back-to-back games. He unfortunately got hurt again against Portland in January of 2017 and spent the summer rehabbing his knee injury. And on top of that, he was not cleared for basketball activities until the 2017-2018 preseason. The plan again was to start off Embiid on a minutes restriction that was in the teens, but that quickly went out the window when Embiid played 27 minutes in the first regular season game against the Wizards. Eventually, Embiid averaged 30 minutes per game on the season and was cleared to play in back-to-back games in February. Embiid hardly practiced with the team during the 2017-18 campaign, but got through the season relatively healthy, playing 63 games. When you think about it, Embiid's production under these circumstances has been nothing short of amazing, and he was able to get through the regular season and the playoffs with his lower extremities intact for the first time in 4 years. While rehabbing his knee in the 2017 summer, Embiid was working on his lower body to prepare for the toll of a regular season, so this upcoming year should bode well, as we see a more fit and conditioned player. This is important as you need your legs for your jump shot, leading to increased accuracy and more arc on the shot. It will also help him have more burst of energy on the defensive end, where he already has such an impact that he came in second for Defensive Player of the Year. The fourth area is more of a philosophical change from a team perspective that would benefit Embiid. The pick and roll has become a staple play in the modern NBA, but the Sixers were actually 29th in pick and roll possessions last season according to NBA.com. They ran pick and roll 990 times, a shade under 11% of their total possessions. According to Synergy, Embiid himself only had 125 possessions all season where he was the man rolling to the rim in a pick and roll. Among players who had at least 50 possessions as the roll man in a pick and roll, Embiid ranked 49th, and look at the other players around Embiid's ranking. Part of that was personnel, the unexpected circumstances surrounding Markelle Fultz's rookie season, Ben Simmons' inability to shoot, and backup point guard TJ McConnell lacking the ability to shoot off the dribble. You could see why the Sixers ran as little pick and roll as they did. The Sixers switched their style of play to a more motion-based offense, leading the league in passes. When they did run pick and roll, it did produce solid results, scoring .85 points per possession when running a pick and roll, which was 13th in the NBA, and were actually 3rd in field goal percentage when running that play type, at 45.7%. The Sixers showed flashes of how deadly Embiid can be as a screener with Simmons as the ball handler, and with Fultz back in the fold, assuming he has full confidence in his jump shot, I would expect the Sixers to have more pick and roll as a part of their offensive diet. Running pick and roll would not only lead to easier baskets and playmaking opportunities for Embiid, it would lessen the burden from Embiid having to post up for the majority of his possessions. Embiid can slip the pick, pop for 3, or roll to the rim as a big 7-2 target. So there you have it. If Embiid is better in these areas of his game, he could have a legitimate shot at the Most Valuable Player award. NBA fans alike have made a stink about the Sixers not landing a big free agent this summer, and while that admittedly is disappointing, not enough has been made about how the Sixers could improve as a team if Embiid and Simmons simply just take their game to the next level. Even if Embiid only improves on 2 or 3 of the areas that I went over in this video, his game would take the next step. We forget that Embiid is still relatively new to the game of basketball. He has only played for 7 years, so naturally, he is still discovering just how good he can really be. Despite his production already, he hasn't even scratched the surface of what he can be, and that is a scary thought for the rest of the league.